Today's show is brought to you by Harry's. Please visit harrys.com and use promo code TheLongWar to save $5 off your first purchase.
Gather, veterans. It's time to join the fight. The Long War begins.
This is The Long War. I'm Robbie B, and joining me once again are my partners in crime, Kenny Boucher, Stephen Four, and Mike Haspel. What's up, guys?
Yo, dog, great to be here.
Yo, what's happening, everybody?
Negative Ghost Rider, the pattern is full.
Such an epic movie, 30 years ago.
Yes, yeah.
You guys are so old, and you're nerd.
Yes. And we actually know the planes they used, which they said were something else in the movie.
I have to start off real quick because I just called you guys nerds and that was really derogatory. I think I might have to issue an apology for last week where I was calling out Dungeons and Dragons people as being more sweaty and more nerdy than 40K people.
Yeah, that is not accurate.
So what I want to say is I apologize. You were just as sweaty and just as nerdy as us.
Oh my gosh, I was listening to Road Trip Radio on Sirius XM today, and sure as shit, the theme to Top Gun came up. And I was like, oh, so good.
I feel like Top Gun and that soundtrack was like 30 years ago, like 300. When I left 300, I felt like I could Spartan baby kick anything alive. You know what I mean? It's like I just walked out of that movie theater. Like, I swear, if I was old enough to walk into a movie theater 30 years ago and watch Top Gun, I feel like I would have walked out of that bitch just ready to smack anybody.
You're like, I'm a fighter pilot. Don't.
I am actually right now. I am a certified fighter pilot.
I'm going to confess something really embarrassing. That movie, even though it was the Navy, had about 80% of influence with me joining the Air Force.
Haspel tells hilarious stories about the wild inaccuracies of that movie, and he still can't. It's on CBS tonight. He's watching it. Like,
yeah, I should hate it, but I can't. It's just
my favorite story you tell is the when they request a flyby on the tower.
Yeah, it's literally like the guy's career would be over. It would just be like, you did this, hand in your wings, you're done. Like,
next scene of the movie would be Tom Cruise in a high school gym handing out basketballs.
Handing out basketballs, he's done.
Haspel, I would like to guess your favorite character out of that movie, and I would think that it's Goose.
No, it's not. It is actually Iceman.
Iceman, yeah, Val Kilmer is a G. He is one of my favorite as well.
Have you guys seen How It Should Have Ended, Top Gun?
Oh yeah.
No.
Yeah.
It's so fucking funny.
and I just want to do another segue and talk about how the demographic for Dungeons and Dragons has changed. Before I stopped working at Gamers Haven, I recently had to stop there because of my new job. We had like 5 young high school girls come in, and literally when I saw them, I was like, this is the cheerleading squad. Like, they're not going to buy anything. They're in here to buy a gag gift or something. And they were, being very girly, just looking around at the dice. Oh, this one has sparkles in it and stuff like that. And I'm like, they're not going to buy anything. Then they wandered back and they bought all this D&D stuff and came up, and I was like, no way. Like, the high school cheerleading squad is playing D&D. And then this one girl was very clearly the DM because she had all the DM stuff and everything. So I asked her, I said, oh, yeah, so you're going to be DMing this? And she's just like, yep, I'm putting these bitches through the ringer. That's honestly what she said. And I was like, you are my new favorite person ever.
I feel like you could have started this out by, like, the first feeler question is, what level Dungeon Master are you? Dungeon Masters don't have levels.
Yeah, but it was beautiful because that, in my mind, I was like, you know what? We won. We just won. Right there, the high school cheerleading squad is playing D&D. We have won. The culture war is over.
I don't feel like I've won. Laugh, cry.
We did. Yeah, well, when we can get them to come in and play 40K, Plastic Sisters, reset the clock because it's mandatory.
Yep, you fucked up.
We might as well just say, just like segue right into the next big plastic unicorn, and that's the Plastic Warhound Titan that a lot of people are talking about from this weekend.
Confirmed. Plastic Warhound Titan is coming out. You can buy one for a really good price, even.
There might be a little
like that's coming out. It just might not be as big as people think it's going to be.
Yeah, there's some folks that I think are playing a little bit of pranks because conventional wisdom says that it will be part of that new Adeptus Titanicus game, and it will probably be a much smaller scale, probably 3 or 4 inches tall instead of
Are you kidding me? My Warhound is going to be every one of my dreadnoughts that I've ever wanted to play.
Yes.
But unfortunately, those are still going to be Armor 12 dreadnoughts, not 7 dreadnoughts.
With no void shields.
Yeah,
So
no void shields.
if you're playing the Long War drinking game, you're drunk.
Yeah, you're messed up now.
You're literally drunk. There it is.
Literally.
I love it. During the webcast, within the first 3 or 4 minutes, we must have hit on like 4 Talladega Nights references. Literally is everything else, and I can't remember. One of you guys are like, somebody'd be wasted right now. Jack Bandy chimed in, was like, "Yep, you would have taken an 11.5 shots already, or something."
I think he was playing along today, actually.
There's a reason why.
Because then he's probably clinically dead.
No,
Jack Bandy, are you with us? Are you watching the after hours?
There's a reason why he didn't put a comment in after 8:11 tonight. 11 minutes into the show.
Yeah, Choco wasted. But yeah, no, the rumors coming out of Nottingham for the Warhammer Fest is looking good. They're saying they're going to do Adeptus Titanicus. I think it was Andy Hoary got up in front of the crowd and was like, "Yo, there's going to be a warlord, and he's going to be like this big." And he was basically, putting his 2 hands one on top of the other, about 6 inches apart. And I mean, 8mm scale.
Apart?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a warlord, not the warhound.
Oh,
That's
warlord. Excuse me. Yes, I knew what I meant. No.
Damn.
Yeah, and remember we saw that mock-up last year around July when they came out with those Apocalypse missile launchers for the Warlord Titan, and people were like, what's that little guy right there? And nobody really said anything, but there was a little like 6-inch tall Warlord Titan sitting on the table too, and maybe that was a mock-up.
Now
shit.
I'm gonna throw in something here, because when I went to Nottingham, they showed they had like a thing. I think they were called 3-ups, which were the models at essentially 3 times the scale, and they would sculpt these things and then scan them with a laser, and that's what went into the CAD system. And then they would, 3D print these models out, and that's how they start making the molds, which is how they're able to get the crazy detail that we've seen on the models the last couple of years. So it's I'm just gonna like fan the flames of craziness right now and saying, once they have a model for a Warlord Titan or a Warhound Titan in a CAD system, it's game over, man. You can print it at any scale you want.
And I think we're starting to see that a lot with Fantasy Flight games too. With the X-wing miniatures and the Star Wars, the Armada stuff. They're just be able to, make it bigger for actual tabletop play, or if they want to do the board game stuff, they're just shrinking it down to put in boxes like the Rebellion board game. So literally, once you can manipulate your products digitally, there's so many more opportunities, for awesome, one-off products, board games, little expansions, things like that. And that's what we're starting to see, that resurgence, at Games Workshop, especially we're seeing Blood Bowl, and now we're seeing Adeptus Titanicus, which, that's such a favorite. You played it when it was Space Marine, right? Haspel, or what?
I got into it when it was Epic.
Oh, okay. So
I was going to ask you guys, is Titanicus new Epic?
So that's what they're saying. Like, Forge World dropped a little picture of the Adeptus Titanicus banner with the Warlord Titan, and they're like, "Hey, check this out! It's so epic."
Oh shit! They did not. So Tabletop Marketplace, we're talking new Epic is out basically, and I know. So like David, I talk about David all the time. My brother, he fucking loved Epic. That was a gem, and he was like, "Yo, Epic tournament rules. They were published. It was such a tournament-ready game, and a lot of the ideas that we've drafted into the Long War tournament structure actually came from David, and David running Epic tournaments back in the day. And he's like, it was such a tournament playable game. And so, what do we know about it right now? Is it going to be competitive? Is it going to be tournament? Like, is it going to be able to be played in tournaments?
Oh, we don't. Unfortunately, we don't know anything. They just showed a banner, and they've made some hints and kind of gave some vague statements about, hey, this is coming. It's
the gorilla in the room is what's the scale? I mean, what's
so they did a bunch of mock-ups. 5mm, 8mm, and I think 10mm. And 5mm was what Epic was, I believe.
It was 6mm.
Oh, 6. Okay, so 8's a little bit bigger, and I guess they said that was because when they shrunk the stuff down, that was like the farthest point that they could kind of see detail, I guess. But
yeah, and that's a big say, like the detail that models have now versus what they did back in the day with Epic. You know.
Shapes.
Yeah, actually shapes.
Yeah, they were.
Oh man, the Epic models sucked. They were awful.
Well, what's cool is that we're seeing that resurgence of stuff inspired and designs inspired by those old Epic models. You know, so it's still cool to see the retro, but yeah, I wouldn't want to literally play with those. They're terrible. But you know, I really liked the old. I guess initially the box came out, it was Adeptus Titanicus. You got some like cardboard skyscrapers, and you got I think there was a plastic Gargan in there. There was some other stuff in there. Like I think there was actually plastic Titans, or
what makes their cardboard skyscrapers better than mine? Because I have cardboard skyscrapers and they do not look good.
I don't know. They came in the box. They had little plastic pieces that held the corners together.
Okay, that is a bonus because right now I'm using
tape. No, it was a cool set, and then eventually that led to Space Marine, which was the precursor to Epic, and then Epic kind of brought everybody on board, and then you know they had models for like every little thing. You know, there was little Primarch models, that Tyranids had all sorts of crazy stuff.
Yeah,
Chaos had crazy Titans, and it was a cool time. You know, for about a good, say like 8 years there before they discontinued everything.
Yeah.
David would go down to the gaming store every week and play with Ron Santoni. Remember that guy?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And they would play all the time. And David was like, "I got all the Storm, what is that thing? The Thunderhawks. I got all the Thunderhawks, and I got all of this, and I got all that. It's so broken, so OP." And like Ron, we run around with like a billion orc stompas. Like it was like, what the fuck are you guys playing? This is so ridiculous.
Well, it's what Apocalypse should be.
Yeah.
You know, it's like Epic allows you to play Apocalypse in a manageable time frame and a manageable space.
And go ahead.
I was just saying, you know, that's they took a bunch of stuff from Epic, and that's in the game now. You know, all the super heavies, all the D weapons, all that stuff came from Epic. A lot of the flyers did too, honestly.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I knew the flyers. I didn't know some of that other stuff originated from Epic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they took inspiration from a lot of as far as like designs for things, like the new Land Raider. Well, not new, like the plastic Land Raider that we know now. That came out in 2000 was actually loosely based off of the Epic one, which was more boxy.
And you had squads of those motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? Like I would see people running across the table with 8 Land Raiders, like, and that was just nothing, just a little part of their army.
No big deal. And it was really cool because it would like Hasbro was saying, it was like in a game of Apocalypse, and not until about the 5th turn when you got in close and you started engaging, almost getting ready to engage in hand to hand with your bases. That was basically a game of 40K at that point. Like when you got that close within that range with your models, that became a game of 40K, like what a game of 40K would be. But until that point, the majority of the game you were playing was on a scale way unrepresentable on 40K.
Oh my God. I watched David and Hod. You remember Hod?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I watched David and Hod play 3 games in a row. They played, and they were basically playing magnifying glass. They played, or 4 games. They played a game of Battlefleet Gothic, right? Yeah. And then with their armies, like whatever their fleets were. And then after they were done with that, they played a game of Epic with the same factions, like magnified in one level, like the Planetfall. Then they played a game of 40K with the same factions, and then a game of Inquisitor.
What?
Wow.
Dude, what a day of gaming.
Dude, and they were like best of 4 is the winner. You know what I mean? Like playing it all the way from Gothic to Inquisitor. I was like, you guys are so ridiculous, but it was amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I always found it's hilarious, and there's actually an article I'm going to publish on Spikey Bits about some folks that are playing Inquisitor scale, or Inquisitor the game in a different scale, because remember it was based on a 54 millimeter air quotes dreadnought scale. But like when this came out, like early 2000s, like some of us bought into it, and it had that RPG aspect to it. But the problem was that it was 54 millimeter scale, right? So we're sitting around the game store, and we're like trying to, we're rebuilding terrain and stuff to accommodate it and everything, and we're like, oh man, it's just we're doing all this hobby stuff, and it's cool making our guys, and now we need a bunker. We're out bunkers in our in our scenario and stuff.
We just play this with our 40K models.
And then the kids come in, right, and they're just like, and they're playing in the corner. I'm like, whatever, they're just stupid kids, air quotes. And I go over there, I'm like, what are you guys doing? Because I saw them had the Inquisitor book. I was like, what are you guys doing? And they're like, oh, we're playing Inquisitor. I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, we're just not doing what you guys are doing. We're just using our models we had already in the same terrain. And I was just like, that feels so stupid.
You're like, I'm so dumb.
I feel like this is how I should be doing this the whole time.
I still use my Inquisitor dice, though, because they have that Inquisition eye on the one.
Yes.
So I still use those.
Good old classic GW move there. It's like, give us cool emblems.
On the worst roll possible.
On the worst roll that you never want to see. It's like, oh yeah, I see that Aquila that I hate. So damn.
Well, Juice, I have good news for you. At Warhammer Fest this weekend, they unveiled Legionnaire dice. Like if you want the Death Guard Legion or the Sons of Horus, guess what the number the symbols are on?
What?
The 6.
1.
Oh, I was about to say the 4.
The 4.
Yeah, the 4.
Find a door and shut that son of a bitch, because that is not they must have an American over there or something now making some things going on, because they're like, oh, Europeans, they'll be happy to see anything. This is how they make ones. People feel better about rolling ones. We'll just give them a cool design. Us Americans like, this is the stupidest thing ever. I hate an Aquila now. I hate my
I don't want to
symbol.
see your Aquila.
You're teaching me to hate your brand.
Yes.
Basically, that's what it is. Like, nobody wants to roll ones. Like, let's be honest. I mean, we have to, but we don't want to. We don't want to get excited about rolling ones.
It's like, I feel like if I'm a nid, I need to be rolling anybody else's dice. If I roll a 1, I'm like, I hate that other race. It's like, if I'm Haspel, you need to have chaos dice. So when you roll your 1s, you're super pissed off because you see the chaos.
That's exactly how I should do it. I got a little intel here. Jack Bandy just Facebooked me.
Drunk Facebook?
Is he alive?
He's alive.
Okay.
He's alive. And he said he's 15 shots in, and he's been drinking 81.
Oh.
He realized how wasted he was getting, so he switched to beer.
Nice.
Then he finished the whole beer and a half. And now he's saying simply PT is going to suck in the morning.
Church.
Getting back real quick to the scale aspect, the big rumor is that it's going to be 8 millimeter, but which, some people with old epic armies that are still around, those were 6 mil. Obviously, you're going to have to buy new stuff. I was a bit more concerned because I was like, well, I want to use terrain that's already out there by third-party manufacturers, like the stuff that's out there for Drop Zone Commander, that's already out there that you can use, but Drop Zone Commander is 10 millimeter. And so is like Planetfall, I think, is 10 millimeter.
That almost might be why, they made the decision they did too, looking at the
truth
environment.
I really wanted to see it be 15 like Team Yankee and Flames of War, because if you made a Land Raider be the size of like an M1 tank, I think it would be very, very, or not a Land Raider, what do you call the big super heavy tanks? I'm blanking on
Baneblades?
Baneblade. I'm old now.
Back in my day, we didn't have to think of all these models.
But if you made the Baneblade the size of an M1 tank in Team Yankee, I think the whole game would be very manageable. But with 8 millimeter, Rob was asking me earlier in the week, how I felt about it, and initially, intellectually, I was like, "Nah, I'm out, man. Like 8 millimeter, I don't want to paint stuff that small. It's just going to be blobs." Shapes, I'm not really interested. But then I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? I have to see it, because when GW says 28 millimeter, it's not really 28 millimeter. It's not true scale. It's like 28 millimeter heroic, which is like 30 millimeter. So it's like, well, if they say 8 millimeter, but it's 8 millimeter heroic, it could very well be 10 mil. Practically, you know. So
it could be 10 millimeter, and their biceps are still bigger than the other 10 millimeter.
Truth.
True. Yeah, it's really hard to say, you know, for surezies, but I think either way, we're all going to be very interested to see the very first mock-ups, which I feel like we could definitely see it as early. I mean, they showed off Blood Bowl like in February, so, and now we've got actual products that look to be coming out in the year. So now we're kind of, I would imagine that this fall we'll see the first product shots, and then maybe, you know, it'll actually be unveiled by about this time next year, you know, kind of in that boxed game slot that they seem to have, you know, around February, March time now. But they seem to be cramming more box sets into the year now. So it's hard to say. Maybe we're going to like a 4-box set kind of scenario.
Well, the model works, and it makes them a lot of money. So,
and to be honest, people just want different stuff to play. Like, hey, I don't have 3 or, you know, as we alluded to, and then we're going to talk about 5 hours, 4 hours to play 40K. You know, like, I just got an hour. Let's play some Titanicus. Word.
Yeah, truth.
Because, I mean, who doesn't want to walk some Titans around the table, whether or not they're the size of a Coke can or not?
I know I do.
Exactly. So, I don't know. I'm down with it, and you know, as far as releases go, we don't really know what's coming out next week on the G-Dub scene, but we're hearing this summer might be a little light on 40K. So my suggestion is, if you got to get your 40K fix, well, we all know who's putting out 40K and 30K models every other week or so, and that's Forge World.
Yeah.
So maybe.
Yeah, but I'm really excited to not have so much 40K going into the summer. Like, give us some time to catch up. Give us some time to get to. Dude, I've got so much painting that's about to start happening in my paint studio. You know, I'm going to be banging out models and units and everything else that I've been wanting to add in armies. It's just between work and all trying to keep up with all the rules and everything else. So I'm really looking forward to potential some downtime.
I hear that, man. I hear that. Definitely. I got like 2 knights to build because I bought the Renegade. I still have to paint all my Overkill Death Watch stuff. I'm like, oh.
There's just not enough time in the day.
Yeah, and then we do have, you know, digitally a couple of other releases coming up. We've got 40K Regicide, which is the kind of that battle chess game, coming out for iOS tomorrow, and that's going to retail for $3.99. So that's a good buy if you like chess, if you like battle chess, if you like 40K. It seems like a no-brainer. And then on the horizon is Warhammer Total War, or Total War Warhammer, depending on which way you look at it. That'll be coming out next week on 24th, I think. And that's a major game. You know, that's $60 right now. If you purchase it. If you pre-purchase it or you buy it within the first week of release, you also get the Chaos Warrior race, which many feel, myself included, should have been included in the main game and not as like a DLC. But it is kind of day one DLC for the Chaos Warriors if you purchase it within the first week of release or pre-purchase it. As released, the game comes out with the Empire, dwarfs, vampire counts, and orcs, or as they call them, greenskins. And a quick plug for the Total War games. If you've never played them before, they are as close as you can get to playing a miniatures game, a grand scale miniatures game on a computer. They are absolutely fantastic. I own every single one of them. One quick caveat of that is, and I'm hoping they break the mold with this, is that generally when you get a Total War game initially, they tend to be a little bit buggy. And the last one that they released, which was Rome Total War 2, was extremely buggy. It was almost like they had released a beta. Now the game is all patched, and it's fantastic. It's really, really good. But just that's a caveat to look out for. And also, these are not something – if you have a Buster Brown old PC that's like, 10 years old, you're not going to be able to play this game. This is This is like a serious. You're going to need a serious PC to play this. They're talking you need a Radeon R9 270X or a GeForce GTX 760. That's what they recommend. So you need a gaming PC to play this. This is not something you're going to be able to play on your Chromebook. That's not going to work.
I did pick up a new TI-83. Do you think that'll
You may want to upgrade and get like the T2000, the liquid metal version.
Yeah.
Or maybe like a Radio Shack Model 3 maybe. I'm thinking.
If
I could ever find a Radio Shack, I think they're as extinct as the TI-80s.
Yeah, they probably.
There's actually one in town here, geez.
Is there really?
There's still one left.
God bless. It's only in Fayetteville.
I imagine it's one of the very few places there's actually still a Radio Shack.
But check out the Total War games. They're a lot of fun, single player and multiplayer. The single player does have a single player campaign that's overarching, which is kind of like Civilization, but more in depth. Well, not more in depth. I would say more granular and more targeted towards mass battles, because that's what Total War does. So if you're looking for a time vampire to just steal your life away, Total War Warhammer will do that. And I was joking earlier before we started the podcast. I was like, if they come out with a Total War Warhammer 40K, and I'm no longer, you guys don't hear from me, that's what happened. I will drop off the face of the earth.
That's happened to me so many times with some video games. Whew. Good times in my life.
Oh. All right. Well, I feel we can roll into the webcast recap if we didn't have anything else, right?
Yeah, absolutely. What a great webcast.
Take a short break after that, I'm sure.
All right. So we're going to start off with a webcast recap with a question from CJ, and we were not able to get to this on the webcast. He asked, he was new to 40K, and can a Knight Atropos be taken as a 40K Lord of War?
I think we're going to have to ask the resident web ruler and Forge World aficionado to answer that question for us.
So, funny story, the Atropos, it actually used to be experimental. There used to be a lot of stuff in here that's experimental. I haven't clicked on all these links on Forge World's site. I imagine they've taken a lot of that away. And the Atropos, you can actually field in your games of 40K. It can be chosen as any part of a Codex Imperial Knight army, as you would other types of Knight. However, owing to the rarity, etc., you may not have more Knight Atropos in your army than you have Knights of any other kind. So there is that. It's a Cerastus Knight Atropos may be taken as a Lord of War choice for any faction as part of the armies of the Imperium. And like Haspel was saying earlier, see the Warhammer 40,000 rulebook, not 7th edition, just Warhammer 40,000.
So, yeah, I think you can play it.
Yeah, and he had a two-part question. So he said, what Razorback weapons would we take between, like Las Plaz or assault cannons?
You have to answer that question with another question. Are you paying for your Razorbacks, or are they free as part of like a Gladius Strike Force? Because if you're paying for them, the simple answer to that is Rhino. Like basically, Razorbacks are too expensive to put any real weapons on.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but if you're playing a Gladius Strike Force and they're free, like I'm Twin Leads Assault Cannon all day because I play them West Scars where they can scout up Khan.
Yeah, there's a lot of different stuff. There's also the Twin Link Assault Cannon version if you're playing some Blood Angel Love too. Kenny, I know you drew that list up, but I mean, as somebody who played it for a while, there does hold some water when it comes to Las Plaz. It just depends on what the rest of your army is.
And the Blood Angels, they're fast. That's why they're different. Is they can do more shots while still moving than anyone else.
One quick thing to point out with the Las Plaz is if you do get a weapon destroyed result, you're not all of a sudden in a 6-person Rhino. You still have a weapon you can fire. Because it's 2 separate weapons, a las cannon and a plasma gun. So if you get a weapon destroyed, one of those gets randomly taken out. The other one's still there to do something.
Yeah, absolutely. It just probably it comes down to what your meta is. I will say if we see this big flux of flyers coming in, I'd rather have me some twin link to saw cannons all day, every day.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely.
Well, I think we're going to see flyers become more and more of a part of the game, just because of that whole air superiority rule. I mean, getting those pluses and giving your opponent those minuses, assuming they're not Elder Jet bikes, is really tactical, like on so many levels, especially when it's stackable, you know. And man, it is just such a big game changer. I feel like in a lot of instances, really.
Absolutely. I mean, it's seriously, people pay points to get this
ability.
I
mean, but to be like super frank though, at the end of the day, if you're playing a Space Marine army with Razorbacks in it and it's not a Gladiator Strike Force, you're not playing it as good as you could be. Now,
No,
that's
if
you don't care about that. If you don't care about that, that's fine. You know, I mean, if you're just keeping it cash, you know, just want to run some Razorbacks. You know, coaxial is really tactical. They're all tactical. You know, like the last cannon one's really pricey. You know, they're all valid, but at the end of the day, if you're talking competitive versus, and I feel like it's a competitive question because he's like, what would you run? If he didn't care about winning, he wouldn't have asked that question. You know, if you're not paying for your Razorbacks because you're running a Gladius, like then there is almost no wrong answer. Run any of them but Heavy Bolter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can definitely get behind that. I feel like the more tactical of them is the last class for sure.
Yeah, and then we had another question from Lamont Lillard. We addressed it on the webcast already, but I felt like it was important enough we should readdress it on the podcast for folks that don't partake in the two. And he said, you know, as a 40K newbie, he only gets about 5 games a year, and he hears a lot of complaining about time constraints at tournaments, and you know, games being very tight against the clock. And so he was just like, he feels like he wouldn't be welcome at bigger events because he doesn't know rules and stuff off the top of his head like we do.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you guys don't mind, I'll speak on this as we did in the webcast. But like, first off, Lamont, do not feel threatened that you can't go to an event. Obviously, you want to make sure you do a couple things, and this goes for anybody out there. Do your due diligence. Sit in your Beats lab. If you only get to make it to a couple big events every year or tournaments at all, period, you know, that's okay. That's perfectly okay. Just make sure throughout the year you are kind of reading up. You don't need to know everybody else's army. But the only thing that I will say is make sure you do kind of know your own. Make sure you know your own stats. You know your own everything else. Also, coming up, we're going to be talking about maybe doing a couple segments on tournament time savers, so where, you know, you can ask some simple questions in the beginning of a game. You know, for example, do you have any blast templates? You know, if your opponent says no, I don't have any, you can immediately save some time throughout the game by not necessarily having to or spread out 2 inches, taking that time to be all, you know, tactical when it isn't needed. He's got the range. If he doesn't, he doesn't. There's no area effects going on. You know, also making sure that during your opponent's phase, you know, start blocking up some of your dice. How many times have you guys been in a situation where you're like, oh, my Hive Tyrants, I run 12 dice for the most part throughout my whole army, right? It was like, or if you're running Razorbacks, you're running 4 dice at a time. Just make sure you randomly have your dice set up, you know, or kind of game plan through. So there's some little things that you can do to help save time when that's going to be an issue.
Yeah,
Mike Caspel taught me something when we were at Adepticon playing together, and he was like, just so you know, all the small dice are this many, all the big dice are this many. Because I would always be counting up his dice because we were sharing dice, and I was like, oh my God. I mean, every big dice I see, I know there's like 10 of. So
yeah,
I can always
all my
add
different
to it.
dice are 10 dice. That's it. So you just grab. So if you need 14 shots, you grab all the same dice and 4 of the other ones. Yep,
like it's your opponent's turn, and you know he's shooting you, and he's like, I'm going to do 6 wounds. I have the big dice in my hand. I just pull 4 out and throw the 6. You know, like it was like, I was like, wow, that's some ancient Chinese tech right there.
It saves
ancient
a lot
Chinese
of time.
dice rolling.
It saves a lot of time, and if you're buying the Chessex dice, they come in groups of 12 anyway. So just take 2 dice out, you got 10, 10, 10. Just and that way, and I play with generally about 30 dice in my dice bag of 3 different dice types. It just saves a ton of time.
Yep.
Sick. That's a I mean, I played a million tournaments and I just learned that. So
yeah, you can always learn. Man, let me tell you, one of the things I love going to tournaments is I learn every time I go. There's literally something else new that I learn. So, Lamont, and for everybody else who's this is their first event, this and this, man, go to it, have a great time, be open with your opponent in the beginning, and keep it icy.
Yeah, and then wrapping up the webcast recap, we had Clay Cruz asking a question about, is there any way to play Necrons without using their detachment? And I got to say, absolutely. There's like a million different ways of playing Necrons without using the Decurion.
Oh, what a great question.
Yeah, it is a solid codex. Necrons can win games very easily without using the Decurion. Obviously, the Decurion is really nice. You know?
Necrons are natural mission winners, is like the way I would call, like what I call that codex. They have all the resiliency. They have the ability to be in multiple places. They have close combat. They have shooting. Now, their shooting might not be the greatest in every situation, but it's so tactically balanced that they are just natural mission winners, you know?
Plus, too, like they have the majority of their units are just good together. Like regardless if you take their Decurion.
10 warriors are not easy to kill, and they can blow up any vehicle in the game. Like it's just a tactical codex. And what I mean by a mission winner is you can win a lot of missions at 40K, like a lot of games, without killing that many models, and you can lose a lot, of models. Like that's what Necrons can do. Necrons can just win the game.
Yeah, and the last point that I'll chime in and say is like I think it's a very symmetrical army, and the chemistry, no matter what units you put together, works so well together. Their firepower is all about the same, the different kind of elements and special rules that they have overlap each other really well. Like I think it is, as Haskell said, like it's a really fucking solid good book.
Yeah, absolutely.
All day, every day. Now, before we jump into our commercial break, I did want to mention our sponsor one more time, Harry's. That's harrys.com. Obviously, go over there, use promotion code The Long War. That's all one word, The Long War. You get $5 off your first purchase. And I want to say we have been using Harry's products since Adepticon when they sent us the trimming kit. It has become the official razor of the most icy sideburns in 40K. That's my sideburns, by the way, not the toot my own horn. But it is a fresh set. It's high quality. Even juice. I think you were telling me just like conversationally earlier today, unprompted, how much better your skin feels after using their face wash.
Yep, absolutely, man. Like they're specifically. So obviously, I love the razor. I am actually noticing that I'm getting a lot of life out of these razors. I don't know if you've noticed that as well, but like I'm talking, it's not like 3 or 4 shaves and you're done. Like I mean, I am really impressed with that aspect. But like, no, their face wash. So I have really dry skin naturally, right? I get like built up dandruff in my eyebrows, just kind of like just skin, you know what I mean? And dude, one thing I've noticed is their face wash has like these little beads. I don't know, dude stuff. Like we don't know stuff like this, right? And it's normally just a bar of soap, but this face wash is doing something to my skin that I really like. Like my girlfriend's like, what are you doing different? Is there like, have you exfoliated or said some words I didn't understand? I was like, I don't know what you just said to me, but it doesn't sound good. Like, no, I haven't done any of that, but I've used this, one of our sponsors, been using this for like 2 weeks straight now, every other day or whatever else. And she's like, yo, let me see it. And she's like, yeah, it's got all these little beads in it. And it does. And I was like, yo, whatever it is, it's working.
It's official, yeah. So definitely check out harrys.com. Use promotion code The Long War. Get $5 off your first purchase.
Veterans, have you been by thelongwar.net lately? New spoils are piling up. Sign up at thelongwar.net and claim your code to unlock valuable discounts at your favorite wargaming stores. Our friends at kingshobbiesandgames.com have added to that horde. An additional 5% off their already low prices. Sign up for free. thelongwar.net.
And we're back. Rob, what you got from us on the Long War Cat Network front?
Meat and Potatoes Cat Network. Well, I think we should definitely hit on 2 things tonight, and one of them is the new FAQ that just dropped for the Scions, the Ages of the Assassins, and the Sisters of battle. There's a couple of things in there that I think we should hit on. But then I definitely think we should talk majority of the rest of the show about all these, rumors about 8th edition and what we could see from a rumored 8th edition of 40K. And, I don't think the sky's fallen, and I think a lot of people feel that way too because they see that they're trying to fix Age of Sigmar, and it might work, but they realize that, hey, 40K isn't going to get squatted, so to speak. That I think was a real concern.
After their profits earning and their quarterly report came out, they had realized they had fucked up by taking points out of a game. So that is clearly not going to happen because this is a company that's publicly traded that needs to post profits, and they've learned what posts negative, and they're never going to make that mistake again, and they're going to do everything they can to fix that mistake.
Yeah, and I don't think we have anything to fear. But first off, Haspel sent over this really great PDF version of the FAQ, and you can download that. You can go to spikybits.com, click on mission packets. You can also download all the Long War, Bringing Hobby Back mission packets too in the same area if you want to get it all in one.
And we are going to be updating that page here soon. So guys, we have more resource material coming out daily. So please, come back off and click refresh. You're going to find an ever expanding section there, the Bringing Hobby Back download section on Spikey Bits.
Yeah, without a doubt. So I think the big thing that we touched on during the webcast was that the whole Calyxus Assassin Psychic Abomination special rule. And somebody asked if it worked while it was inside a transport, and the answer was no. Which, we had a lot to say about it, I feel like.
Oh my God! I almost forgot we had this conversation because it was so intense.
Yeah, this kind of goes against some of the stuff that's in the main rulebook already on page 80, and we've talked about that, like the whole radius from a vehicle. But now they're really starting to batten down the hatches on this rule.
Rob, do you have page 80 queued up?
Yeah, right. I'll grab it. Give me a sec.
Grab page 80, and so what we're saying is, basically, this might be a precedence. Like they said in the main FAQ, they're like, hey, you can't measure things from inside the vehicle to outside the vehicle. They were saying kind of like a broad statement, like, wait, what? You mean the Calyxus Assassin wouldn't work? Then they doubled down on that. In the actual Assassin FAQ, they answered it again. So we're like, wait, does that mean nothing? That's like an aura or a passive ability? Does that mean none of that shit works from inside of the actual vehicle? Which kind of goes against page 80, like the entire purpose of this section on page 80 that we are aware of.
So under embarking on that page, it says if players need to measure a range involving the embarked unit, except for its shooting, this range is measured to or from the vehicle's hull. Which it's kind of at the end of the paragraph, and it's, if you're not reading for comprehension every little thing all the time, it might get overlooked, and I feel like maybe this is one of those things that they're going to clear up in the final draft. I don't know.
So currently, we know the Assassin is an exception to that rule. Page 80 says don't read this for the Assassin. The Assassin is not a psychic ability. It is not a shooting attack. It is in fact something, a range that needs to be rolled to a person who may be embarked in a vehicle. And I don't know if they made this decision because of the other FAQ ruling that you can no longer start in a Battle Brothers transport. It doesn't stop you from getting into it. So he can quite easily be in any vehicle in the game, but you basically have to omit this excerpt from page 80 when discussing the Calyxus Assassin. What else is going to make the cut? I would almost want them to make an FAQ of things that does work, because there's a million things in the game, and I'll let Juice talk about one of the ones that's really important to us here in a second.
Yeah, exactly. One that I was trying to kind of get to in and around is what you kind of laid down the framework for is objective secure, guys. Mm-hmm. Think about this. There are army builds out there where people take a objective secure unit and buy a transport for it, and then a non-objective secure unit and flip-flop, put people in this and this.
You put an OBJ unit in the fast attacks vehicle, and then the fast attack unit in the OBJ vehicle, and essentially the way it's been played in many tournaments for years is that both vehicles now essentially are objective secure. It would be an objective secure aura, because objective secure is a special rule attached to combined arms detachment and allied detachment. And if I ever needed a roll, like to measure to the unit that is embarked, page 80 says I just measure to the whole of the vehicle. Objective secure is a special rule that is attached to a unit embarked in a vehicle. And people like me and Juice are like, yeah, I'm just going to measure to the vehicle.
Yeah, because that's where their special rule is. Like we've been playing it this way now. As Haspel and some other groups have spoke to us about, and even Haspel did on the show tonight. Is like he had no idea that even it was misinterpreted, or not even necessarily misinterpreted.
Contested. Yeah.
Yes, that it was even a thing to think it was like that. But here, Kenny and I are playing it and have been under this type, and that is a huge thing, because in most tournaments that I've played in, that's exactly how it's run. You know, scouts in Landspeeder Storms, you know, and the Landspeeder Storm itself being object secured, and then you just zoom it around even when the guys are.
You can buy scouts for the Landspeeder Storm, put the scouts in a fast attack, you know, anything, and put in, you know, but that's how people play Dark Eldar for years. People Venom spammed that, you know, fast attack Venoms with OBJ guys in it, and I mean it was just, and you know. It's so obviously there's a regional contestation there. Like we know the Atlanta crew, they strongly never played it that way, the way me and Juice play it, and neither did Haspel. Juice and I have played it the way we play it, and we've also gone to many tournaments and played against people who played that way. Is this a precedent?
I feel that it is, and I just pulled out the draft Big Fac, you know, and I'm going to reread the question and the answer of that. And the question is, I have a question regarding unit special rules that affect all or some units within a certain range of a model or unit. How do these interact with units inside transports, and what happens if the unit with the rule is inside a transport? And the answer they have is, when a unit embarks on a vehicle, it is taken off the battlefield and does not interact with anything on the battlefield. However, certain rules may create exceptions to this rule, with the most obvious examples being fire points and psychic powers and transports. If a unit's rules are meant to apply, even when embarked on a transport, they will specify this.
So that almost means page 80, that last sentence of that paragraph, is a stupid, non-existent sentence, because that omits fire points. Like that is like, except for shooting. And these guys are saying in their FAQ, GW by these guys are saying the unit is not even on the table. Like, why is that even in the main rulebook then?
Well, I don't know. I feel like you're nitpicking on this.
Well, I mean, it's I mean, it just I can't even think of one rule that would apply to, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't know. Because and like the way Juice alluded to, the way I've always played it is, if your troops are embarked on a non-objective secured transport, then that doesn't count as objective secured. That's the way I've always played it. But I didn't realize that was a contested rule.
There's multiple things that are like, if you're within 6 inches of this unit, the enemy suffers this. They're saying it doesn't apply. They're saying it don't count as.
And like the feel no pain bubbles from
that's
Priest old. That's old. Okay.
That's old. I mean, there's other things in the game, you know, that besides the Helix Assassin that do that, and whether they're positive, you know, force multipliers or negative enemy, you know, stat manipulators. I mean, it's almost like this section of page 80 is errated, and that I would like to see that FAQ question you just recited just simply say errata and not FAQ, because that is essentially, to my knowledge, what it's doing.
Yeah, I see what you're saying now. That does make sense. That it kind of invalidates that whole last sentence of page 80, which does tie into like our main topic tonight, which was a potential, you know, 8th edition, and that's what we're calling it. Because like I pointed out during the webcast, I don't think, and I could be wrong about this, but I don't think anywhere in GW's literature did they ever mention 7th edition 40K. I think there was 6th edition, and then there's this edition.
You know, that's so crazy for me to think about, is because you brought that up in the webcast, and I literally was thinking around, I'm like, holy shit, you're right. They're actually, you know, but so my next question is, I answered my own. I was going to say, has there ever been a 4th, 5th, 6th, and was there ever any verbiage? And
look actually, at your shoulder.
I was getting ready. That's exactly what I stopped. Because on my favorite edition was 4th edition, and there was actually the Roman numeral 4 on the skull showing 4th edition.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm actually holding the main rulebook in my hands right now, the original 7th edition one, and it's like I flipped through the first couple of pages with table of contents and everything, and now I'm to like the first cover, like the first insert page, and it says core rules. This section contains all the basic rules you will need in order to command your army and fight your Warhammer 40k battles.
Wow.
Right. So what I feel that does is by not calling it 7th, and obviously then not calling it 8th, they are implying that this is kind of a living rule set and that they can change it whenever they feel like it, which we've kind of seen with the Death from the Skies thing, where they're just like, oh, hey, by the way, these are the new rules for flyers now. And the dogfight stuff you can use if you want or not, but these rules are the new rules for flyers. So, like, okay, well, that's interesting.
Oh no, that's a huge point, because that's almost what it is. It's almost like it's become a living rule set that they are just pumping out the supplements for, over and over, and adding, subtracting, tweaking, and then eventually they may or may not change the core rules, which is kind of what we're hearing right now, is that the core rules would get more of a like an update. Everybody's like, it won't be drastic, but it's needed, because I think it was somebody had a talk with Jess Goodwin, I think it was, and I forget the exact quote and the exact person, but they basically said it got a little clunky, and it has, because we talked about, how hard is it for a new player to jump in and pick up all the rules, say, for Tyranids, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what I would like to see, this is kind of a dream wish list thing. So if GW, if you're listening, this is a letter to Santa right now.
This is a Dear GW letter?
Yeah, that's right. I would like to see 2 tiers of rules. And it's like we're seeing that they're going to bring that to Age of Sigmar, where there's going to be 3 different ways of playing the game. I would almost like to see a similar thing with 40k, not down to the Age of Sigmar level where there's no points or anything like that, but that there is kind of the a lower level set of rules where everything is very simplified and everything, so that if you're a new player that is just trying to join in, you're not overwhelmed immediately, because I got to believe that that's a huge barrier to entry when you see, oh, you need 3 books to play this thing, or 4 books, or even more. That's got to be a huge barrier.
Like a 40k lights edition?
Yeah, like a 40k light diet edition or something, or new edition or something, and then a 40k veterans edition. And on the veterans edition, we've basically got what 40k is now, but with consolidated rule set. And you could even introduce more tactical stuff, like, hey, in the shooting phase, you have to declare all your firing all at once before you even start to shoot, because it's supposed to happen simultaneously. So there wouldn't be I need to blow up this tank. My guy missed. Now this unit's going to blow up this tank. Now he missed. Now this unit. It would just be like, well, you missed.
I would love that rule to make it a 40k. That would be because you're right. It would be such a stronger representation of a battle, where like you don't just wait for your friend's unit over there to shoot and see if they did it, and then you shoot to see if you can do it. You're all taking aim and going. So I would love to see a veterans edition of 40k with more tactics in it like that. And the reason that would be amazing too, though, is because in the past 2 editions in a row, they have kind of fucked up and inadvertently demonized a way of playing. They came out with Unbound and made it so different to the game right now that we've just demonized it as players. And in 6th edition, they did it with the double force org. If they said if you played 2,000 points, you could play with 2 force organization charge. And so everyone was like, oh no, because remember guys, we played 1750 tournaments. Then we played 1850, and then standard tournament size was 2K for years.
Yeah. At the end of 4th and beginning of 5th, for sure.
All 5th, dude. We played all 2K during 5th, and then 6 dropped, and everyone was up in arms. They were like, "Oh, we're doing 1999 tournaments, 1999 +1 tournaments," because they didn't want people to play double force org, even though inadvertently they didn't realize 7th edition was going to be way beyond double force org. It was like literally anything goes. So they kind of made us backpedal back down to 1850, and now people are talking about going to 1500. And this is all because they've kind of GW has failed to capitalize on two different ways to play while trying to make two different ways to play their rule set. They've kind of just made us want to gravitate toward one. They can easily fix that problem with a 40K light and a Veterans Edition.
Yeah, truth. Yeah.
And, you know, we may even see that with that whole Battle of Vedros stuff. Like, maybe that is the light version. Like, it's really just kind of hard to say. We know they're watching. We know they're listening. We know they're kind of doing their market research. They're trying. They may not, you know, have it all down pat quite yet, but it seems like once Games Workshop sets their mind to something, they generally get it done. So I'm very hopeful for, you know, moving forward. And I just took a look at my collector's edition rulebook, and it's the little mini one, and I noticed on it, it says, on the spine, it just says the rules. And then when you open it up, or on the cover, it says the rules too. And you open it up, the very first page, the rules, and then contents, core rules. So, like, yeah, I could really see this whole thing just kind of being a big living document that's, you know, just basically content and product that they can put out. You know, they can do the little mini collector's editions. They can do, you know, hey, now we've got the second edition.
Especially if GW commits to their content release schedule with these FAQs. Mm-hmm. If they can actually stay vigilant and just bang these out and then just... Yeah.
That's the biggest evidence to me that if there is a quote-unquote 8th edition coming, it's not a drastic change. Because
they wouldn't put this time into it.
Yeah, this FAQ is not easy, man.
It's organized.
A lot of work in this.
Did you notice that? Like, they have been dropping these on Wednesdays the past 3 weeks in a row.
So why put in all this work if you're just going to Age of Sigmar 40K and, you know what I mean? And, nothing matters, take whatever you want. That's obviously not going to happen.
Yeah, I think the climate is definitely different. Like, had this happened during last year, during the big, you know, impact of Sigmar, where there was a lot of negativity, I think there would be a different response. And we even saw that, you know, leading up into October, November, you know, with some end times talk here and there. But nowadays, I feel like people are definitely, you know, way more, I guess, hopeful and open-minded about it, not quite as whiny as they've been in the past with, I don't want my, you know, X game change.
I honestly wouldn't mind seeing them put out some campaigns that advance the story, like they've done with The Curse of the Wolfen. I mean, obviously that's shaking things up in a big way. It's advancing, you know, the 40 instead of being like, you know, 30 seconds in the future of the 41st millennium. They're progressing stuff. So who knows what we'll see? And I wouldn't mind that at all. I just don't think it's going to be a huge. I think it's going to be a consolidation and maybe a slimming down of the rules.
It would be game over, man. Like, you're not wrong, man. Like, if they just said, hey, we don't care about our stockholders anymore, we don't care about the people who play this game, we're going to just do this. I mean, that would be enough to put the nail in the coffin, man. Like, honestly, like, with the thousands of dollars in books we've bought over the last, you know, few months, and we're super excited about all these new rules. If they were to just like, hey, 8th edition, different. None of these books you bought matter. Like, if they actually did that, people got to really. Right. It's not the sky is not falling.
No, yeah, exactly.
If they did that, I mean, it would essentially be game over for them.
Yeah, I think the sky is becoming a brighter bluer sky. I feel like it's gonna get more organized, more streamlined, less clunky, like they were saying, and I think easier for all types of hobbyists and collectors and players to
all trust would be lost.
Participate in. And don't get it twisted. I mean, once GW gets involved with some organized play, you know, not just this like tank shock thing, and then whatever they're doing over the summer with the Age of Sigmar campaign, that expect more, and expect, you know, Haspel dug up the old Rogue Trader tournament guide to running tournaments, and that was only 30% battle scores, folks. Like 30% back in the day. That was the standard for nearly 15 years, and we got away from it at 6th. And, you know, through a lot of efforts on our part, you know, with bringing hobby back, plus, you know, just GW, you know, mentality in general trickling down from a lot of its stores and a lot of its employees, and current and present, or, you know, past and current, that, you know, I think it's really starting to stick, and we're starting to see it kind of trickle down. And you know, there might be a time where it isn't all battle points anymore, and it is about the hobby, you know, and that's what I want to see, because that's basically our mission statement, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the only thing I could say is obviously what we've seen in the last couple of weeks, GW has gotten smarter. They're releasing FAQs. They're doing these things. Like, they're not going to do something as stupid as to say they're, all right, we are going to relieve point values from the game system. Like, guys, look at this. They don't want other game systems to come in and take over the block. So I am excited for what 40K has to offer coming up.
And it goes against what we've seen them do, because they released, I think it was the Tau Codex that was the first one that included, here's this new stuff from the Tau from this campaign book, but you can also buy the new Tau Codex with all those rules in there. And they did the same thing with the Curse of the Wolf edition of the Space Wolf Codex. And now they just re-released, only digitally, mind you, but they released the Demon Codex with all this stuff from Curse of the Wolf and incorporated in that. So it's more or less, I think we're not even going to see a true 8th edition, I think we're just going to see a consolidation of rules. And some of the rules, like the Death from the Skies, like dogfighting rules, may be incorporated, but I think they're going to be in a different format than they are in the book now, because it almost seems like that's a test rule set. Like, hey, we came up with this mini game and it's kind of fun, and we put it in this book, and now you guys can beta test it, and then we'll put it in the real rules, that kind of thing.
And seems like something GW would do.
Yeah, and they've done that in the past, and they borrowed rules from different rule sets and put them into new things. They've even, in the old chapter approved books, they put out the first assault, trial assault rules for 3rd edition, because we had a 3rd edition, we had a 3.5 edition, and then we had a 4th edition.
Yeah, 4th edition was trial vehicle, trial assault rules. I remember the hatred.
Yep.
It was all beta though, it was like they made us playtest it for them. I remember that.
Yep, it was a whole thing. So from where we are today, and I think it's a really exciting time to be in the hobby in general from all different perspectives.
Yeah, it's very cool.
True story. We've probably burned through an hour here pretty quick, I think.
Yeah, I think we definitely hit the hour mark for sure, Z's.
Sick. We got anything else? Obviously, exciting times being Warhammer 40K. I'm also really excited about the new plastic dreadnoughts that just came out with.
Yep.
Anyone still listening and playing the Longwood drinking game, I just want to say dreadnoughts should all be toughness 8 or 7.
It should literally be toughness 8 or 7.
All day, every day.
They should use Tom Cruise witchcraft.
Because if you're not first, you're last.
And you're drunk. So
you're drunk right there. It was like 10 shots. Ugh, brutal. All right, well, I think that's it for this one, guys. Thanks for everybody for listening in on this one. If you're in the webcast here, the live Long War Speakeasy webcast, we usually kick those off about 9 p.m. to 9:30 Eastern Wednesday night after the webcast. So you can always jump in and listen to the behind the scenes podcast here too. And if you haven't done so already, make sure you go on over to the longwar.net. That's the home of the battle reports for exclusive content, early access videos, and more. Become a veteran of the Long War today.
Check out thelongwar.net. Become a member of the Hall of Veterans today for the fastest growing library of war game related video content, modeling, painting, and playing. Not to mention all the sick discounts I receive from some of our sponsors. TheLongwar.net is committed to bringing hobby back, and we can't do it without you.